Well, I'm saying you...
I don't f***ing tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes. What is your question?
I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
From schooling them on basic facts to even making them cry, these are the most ruthless verbal beatdowns celebrities put up on woke journalists. Starting with a 60-minute interview where Morgan Freeman called out a journalist for being a race baiter.
History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? Well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
So Freeman, from the beginning of the interview, was not in agreement with the reporter's hypocritical take on the subject of Black history. But it seemed like the interviewer just didn't get the memo, and he just kept on pushing it.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
By the time Freeman was done talking, the interviewer learned something useful about the need to set aside the woke racial bias that's been used to define different communities within society.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
Next up is a video of genius billionaire Elon Musk completely destroying a woke BBC journalist in the most iconic conversation ever. So the reporter went on to blatantly claim a lack of moderation against hate speech on X, and Elon did not seem to be in the mood to let anything slide.
Spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about?
As Elon pressed on, it quickly became obvious that the interviewer didn't know what he was talking about. And we could already get the vibe that the tables were turning, and Elon was the one doing most of the interviewing at this point.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote, like what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally. But I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
You see more hate speech personally?
I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit.
By this time, everything about the interview seemed ridiculous except for Elon. Now he seemed calm and in control of the situation as he continuously cooked and roasted the hell out this woke reporter with more targeted questions that just kept throwing the interview all off balance.
Slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just
curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. You
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why, because I don't actually use that feed anymore because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
a lot of people only look at
hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something like the strategic dialogue.
The rest of the interview was pretty much all about Elon demolishing the hell out of this journalist, and it's such a great example of celebrities standing up to the misinformation paraded all about the woke brigade. With what happened in this interview, the BBC and other news outlets would ensure that they do their proper research before going after somebody like Elon Musk. Now, this next one happened recently when a journalist tried to corner Dana White at a new wave of trans and woke censorship during an interview in a UFC backroom.
Go back, you were talking about, like, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Like, is there...
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you...
A leash?
like...
Free speech.
Despite Dana's immediate protest at the ridiculous accusations, this interviewer just kept pushing his deluded narrative just to achieve his aim of getting Dana roped in as a bigot.
Gonna tell people what to believe? Gonna tell people... I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on, though.
Yeah, probably a good idea. That's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash.
Dana, however, didn't give this dude a chance and went on to clearly show how insane his assumptions were, and the woke media themselves are guilty of most of the things that they was trying to bag Dana as being guilty of. No single group fights free speech like the woke mob, but here they are trying to tag somebody as a speech police. After the utter demolition of the deluded journalist, Dana went ahead to cement his claims with, actual fact.
I give somebody a leash. Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want. And I don't think there's any... We had two gay women who fought in the co-main event. They sat on the stage with Sean Strickland. They could give a shit what Sean Strickland thinks, or what he says, or what his beliefs are, or what his opinions are. You know what I mean? Go ahead. What do you got?
In this next video, former President Donald Trump put a rude reporter in her place.
To those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
Obviously fed up by her antics, the president totally owned her, calling her out for her unpleasant behavior to the cheers of his audience.
It's very simple. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating and we were talking to Nara.
In this next interview, the newsman tried to corner iconic actor and movie producer Denzel Washington on the subject of race, coming across as asking a harmless question on the prevailing politics, when in fact he was pushing his woke agenda, which only serves the purpose of increasing the racial divide within the country.
In your mind, have race relations improved under his leadership?
Race relationships have to do with race relationships.
Now, thankfully, Denzel was quick enough to see through the play. Picking up on the signal, Denzel went on to give a lecture that would probably give many in the woke left some much-needed education on the subject of race.
I'm black or whatever I am. We're standing here talking now. That's how we get things done. You can't legislate love. The President of the United States can't legislate us into liking each other. We have to step forward and ask questions about each other and engage. There's no law that says, because I'm president, you all got to get along now.
Even after his candid words, the reporter just kept on pushing the issue on the subject of the Black Lives Matter movement, hoping to strike a chord with the actor's emotions.
Protests in America, especially during the election, Black Lives Matter movement, for example, and those issues, has that movement in particular, the Black Lives Matter movement, helped?
America, and in America we have the freedom to express ourselves. We shouldn't take that for granted. So whatever the movements are, whether you agree with them or don't, they have the right to express themselves. So that's one of the great things about being. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth.
Another clip shows Denzel Washington yet again schooling a journalist on the subject of fake news after he was attacked on his alleged voting choice. His words carry so much truth as we live in an age where gossip and rumors are encouraged and peddled. And it don't help matters, the big news networks are extremely guilty of spreading the fake news virus too.
Oh, I was salivating. Honestly, I got an adrenaline rush thinking of, what I could say and whether I'd have to go to jail. And
Up next is an actor and comedian, Ricky Gervais, giving his take on offense and cancel culture on The View. Now, his words during that interview remain classic to this day.
Of government body, so they fear complaints, but live, no, anything, it's just, no.
Well, when you go on the Golden Globes, a lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
And so,
thank you.
So this is,
well,
yeah,
well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right, you know? It's...
Now, here's a separate video of Ricky just tearing into the present woke ideologies with style and humor.
The old-fashioned women. Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh. No, I love the new women. I know the new women. The ones with beards and cocks. They're as good as... I love them. And now the old-fashioned... They go, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns.
Here's the moment Dr. Phil silenced Bill Maher when he tried to tackle him on the issue of family and religion being a neglected solution to the many problems in American society.
What I think we disagree a lot on is that you think family and faith are a big fix to the problems we have. I mean, I don't have a family, and I definitely don't have faith. So I get it, definitely not part of the solution.
And this is another moment where woke ideologies was completely shattered by Candace Owens on a Dr. Phil show about the subject of reverse discrimination evident in colleges and universities across the country.
If you're white, someone can discriminate against you, but there's no systemic basis to it.
But if it's becoming part of the university admission process, if it's determining hiring practices, dismissal practices in industry, is that not systemic?
You could nitpick and find little instances on both sides, but I think if you look at it as a whole...
Now, this woke student clearly did not have anything tangible to say, and it only set the stage for Candace Owens to use his ignorance to her advantage.
Candace, are we compromising standards if we do that because we haven't fixed the problem down the line?
That's correct. It is the policies are harmful also to the people that they purport to help, and we have all of the evidence there to look at. When you artificially place a Black American into a school in which they do not belong based on their knowledge, doesn't mean that they go on to get A's. In fact, there was a Black adjunct professor, you guys have definitely heard of him, Dr. Thomas Sowell, who was teaching at Cornell University, and he found that the majority of the Black American students that were there were on academic probation. Now, these students were some of the smartest in the nation, but because they were artificially placed amongst their peers at Cornell University, they were failing on academic probation. These policies have never helped Black Americans.
Still on Candace Owens moments, here's a video where she utterly dominated Crystal Ball during an interview with Hill TV. The journalist tried to bait Candace with known woke rhetorics on race, but instead, she got checked immediately.
You hear that there's no prominent African Americans in the White House itself. Do you think that's in the White House?
Well, I want to go back and answer your question. So, one thing that we always speak when we speak to conservatives about is we have to stop believing in this illusion that because somebody is Black, they represent my interests. We learned that lesson via Barack Obama. I mean, he was in the White House for 8 years and didn't do much for the Black community. So I'm not interested in the color of people's skin. So I'm interested in what they do and what they accomplish.
I'm really interested in your perspective.
Because somebody matches my skin color, because somebody matches my gender, they have my best interests at heart, and that is completely fallacious.
I have to ask about Kanye.
Now, finally, this is the wholesome moment where famed author Jordan Peterson left an interviewer speechless after expressing her woke hypocrisy and bias on the subject of free speech.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm
you
very
get my
glad that I have
point. No, but you get
exercised
my
my freedom of
point.
speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
But
And that
you-
is what you should do. But
And
you're
you
exercising
think-
your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Trying to defend herself, the interviewer went on an internal tussle to get out the right words for a comeback, but ultimately surrendered to Peterson's clear, superior reasoning.
And I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
you have got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work
about
that through in
time.
my head. Yeah. It took a while.
It did, yeah.
Took a while. You have voluntary.
If y'all like the video, then make sure you check out our other videos too.